One of the most important skills to have as a real estate investor is the ability to analyze a property to see if it's going to fit within your particular strategy. The video that I'm sharing with you today is a property that I recently looked at, and I'm going to walk you through every step that I take in looking at the property, analyzing the rehab, looking up the comps, and then determining what the right price is that we need to pay for that house. Now, a lot of you, depending on your area, you might find some of the numbers in this video shocking, but this is a property that we're looking to acquire for under $100,000 that's worth about $250,000 when it's all fixed up. So when you see things like a $6,000 kitchen or, cheaper prices like that, don't be too surprised. Just adjust everything up for your area and look at it more from a percentage standpoint than an actual dollar for dollar figure. But if you're in an area that is very similar in pricing to the property that I'm showing you today, this will line up exactly with what you're looking for. I think you'll get a lot out of this video and really take some time to look at how I come up with my numbers, how I analyze my comparable sales, to determine the range and the value of the property, which ultimately will determine what my strategy will be for that house and what I need to pay for it. Very chilly morning out here in Cincinnati. This is a Cape Cod that we got a lead on. It's off market. They've got some offers on the table now for about $70,000. We've done a couple houses on the street, one up the way. So I'm gonna flip this around and do a walkthrough so we can get an idea of what it needs. As you can see, it's a good street. The rehab has already been started. So it's all the way gutted out. So it needs everything. So we've got 14 windows. We've got some issues with the foundation in the basement. It's gonna need drywall, electric, plumbing, everything. Insulation up here. But it's cheap. So when I'm walking through a property, I'm always looking for the big ticket items that it's gonna need. In this case, there is a foundation crack. Good news is we've done a bunch of houses on this street, so we have an idea of what our costs are gonna be. You've got the windows, you've got the kitchen, bathroom, rough plumbing, rough electric, because you gotta rewire the entire house. You gotta pull permits. You gotta replumb the entire house because it's gutted down. You gotta finish the demo. You got a crack here. So overall, we're looking at about a $75,000 rehab. Came up with about $65,000 in work total, and just added another $10,000 on top. So it needs a furnace, needs basically everything. So these are the types of deals that we get. This is the first one that we're looking at today. We'll be looking at another one this afternoon. And this is how we spend the day, just looking at houses, checking things out. And when we get a deal, we go out there as soon as possible to take a look at it. So check out the backyard on this thing. The old secret key. Oh, the nice thing about this, the backyard is really nice. It's huge. So you do have some exterior concrete work to worry about. You've got a garage door. All right, now that I've seen it, I'm gonna go back to the office. I'm gonna run some numbers on it. I'm gonna run comps. I'm gonna see what other houses in the area have sold for, what investors are paying, and they're gonna put together a little information to determine what we're gonna pay for this house, and then we're gonna submit our offer. So that's what we'll do right now. Okay, I'm back at the office, and I'm gonna just basically analyze this deal. When I'm just doing a preliminary analysis, I don't get too nitty-gritty on the numbers, but I wanna at least get my rehab numbers in there. I took some notes when I was out at the property, so I'm just gonna throw these in here. And again, these are not set in stone. These are just some preliminary numbers. I saw it needed a roof, so I'm at $4,000 there. It had 12 windows, so I'm put $5,000 for that. Doors, I got $4,000 for exterior doors, interior doors. I've got the kitchen I've got $6,000 for there. Again, this is a kind of a first-time home buyer market, probably under $200,000 in value. So I'm not doing a crazy kitchen. Appliances, $3,000. Heating and air, because we've got to run duct work, about $8,000. That might even be as high as 10. Let's just say 10. You've got to do there's some foundation work that needs to be done based on the foundation contractor that I use a ton. I know it's going to be about $3,000. Just a standard bathroom remodel, I always budget for $4,000. And this is separate from all the other plumbing that needs to be done. This would just remodel the bathroom. Then electric, I think the whole thing is to be rewired. So you're looking at about at least $6,000 for that. You've got to do a new panel. And let's just say $8,000. And then plumbing, so you've got to rough in the bathroom. You've got to rough in the kitchen. Install a hot water heater. So I got $6,000 for that. Again, this is down and dirty, just quick, wham, bam. I don't have time to go and do a detailed deep dive. I'm just putting in everything to kind of get a basic idea. Paint for the whole thing is I've got $6,000 for drywall. Paint, I've got $4,000 for that. I've got light fixtures, $2,000. Flooring, $4,000. Then you got trim work, baseboards and all that jazz. $2,500 landscaping, $1,500 for basic landscaping. And then, so my total for this is $73,000. And I'm just going to round up because there's probably stuff I missed. I'm sure there's like gutters or there's concrete on the outside. We got a garage door was one of the things. So I'm just going to round it up to $7,000 to say, okay, just to be safe, let's say the rehab is $80,000. So my acquisitions person that is working this deal, he told me that they've got offers around $70,000. So that's about where we would need to be. So that's the first thing I'm doing is just putting in the rehab numbers. I got $80,000 here just to be safe. And now we're going to look at the house itself. We're going to determine what it's worth. And I'm going to use that to kind of determine about what we should pay for the house or if we just think it's a no-go. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to pull the property up on the auditor page. This just gives me the information about the property itself so I can see square footage and all that jazz. So I've got it here. It's 2681 McKinley. It's in Cincinnati Public Schools. You can use Zillow. You can use whatever tool you want. I just use the auditor because it's what I've been doing for so long. So I'd go to the appraisal information, and then all I'm trying to figure out is, okay, what's the square footage here? So I got 1332. It says it's a 3-bed. In this case, I would put 2 bedrooms upstairs, and I would do 1 bedroom downstairs, maybe 2. But it's nice to have that, more living area. Maybe you could finish the basement. Either way, all the stuff is up in the air, and it's very flexible until we kind of have an idea what this house is even worth. So that's the auditor information here. So I just know what I'm going on, 1,300 square feet. It does have $900 square feet here, and the upstairs is 432 feet. It does have finished basement. So we're going to debate on whether or not we're going to finish the basement, if it's really worth it. We're also going to debate on whether or not we'll add another bathroom upstairs. So everything's gutted down, so it might make sense to dormer it out, put a bathroom up there. But again, we're just going to let the comps drive it. I'm not going to say, okay, this is what we're doing. This is how it works. I have to have 2 bathrooms. I'm going to see what the market is going to dictate. So that's the basic information about the house. Let's go to the MLS. I'm an agent, so I can sign into the MLS, and that's the easiest way for me to run comps. So that's what I'm going to do here. Again, you can use Zillow, you can use batch leads, you get all kinds of stuff. But being an agent, big advantage of that is I can hop on the MLS. So I'm going to do a radius search, and I'm going to look for any house that's sold within the last year, typically within a mile. So that might be a little bit further out, but let's just say this 2681 McKinley. That's Cincinnati, Ohio, 45211. We're going to go single family. Move my picture over here. We go to single family only. I'm going to specifically select this suburb. Where this is, there are other neighborhoods around, so I'm going to stay in this specific suburb and click all the coming soon, pending and sold, say last sold date. I'm just going to go the beginning of this month, so 12/1/2022. Just to kind of get an idea, I'm going to do half a mile. And this is going to give me everything that's sold within a half mile of this house. See, we got 59 houses here. All right, it's going to give me all these results. And I'm going to scroll straight down to the bottom to find out the top of the value for this market. So you can see here, you've got this one on Dunaway, $400,000. That's not us. Another one on Dunaway, $370,000. That's not us. So you got some really, nice $300,000 homes. There's a historic part of Westwood that's really nice. Cincinnati is a very pocketed area. So even we say Westwood, which is an old neighborhood on the west side of Cincinnati, there's different pockets within Westwood. There's $200,000 pockets, $300,000 pockets, $400,000 pockets. It varies block by block. So if you're looking at properties that are in an area you're not familiar with, don't fall into that trap to say, oh, well, it's worth $315,000 because it's within a half a mile. It's in Westwood. No. These are completely different pockets. So if you're dealing with an older market, you may run into the same thing. So again, you can kind of see the values on here. 271. Again, that's not us. That's a 2-story. I also have the advantage of I've done a couple properties on this actual street, so I kind of have an idea. And also last year, I tried wholesaling a house in a similar neighborhood that was a house that was in similar condition. It was completely gutted down. We tried to sell it for $70,000 originally. It was a nightmare. We weren't able to sell it. We ended up selling it for like 55 grand. I think we made like $1,000 on it just to save our butt. So there's that. So that's also factored into my brain and my calculations. All right, so as we get to this first page, we kind of see about houses that are looking a little more similar. You've got these 2 stories. Here's a Cape Cod. Okay, so here's one on McKinley, same street, 2876 McKinley, same street, Cape Cod. Here we go. So 3-bedroom, move-in ready. Let's take a look at this thing. Let's see how it looks like. So looking at these pictures, it's kind of rehabbed. They did a good job. They left a lot of the tile. So again, you don't need to do a crazy downtown rehab, but they did a good job here. It's got a basic finished basement. It's all white. It's got a walkout in the back. It's got a little bump out. So that's important to remember. We'll look at the square footage of this one. Remember, we're 1,300 square feet. Now we have a huge backyard. This is a huge backyard, same street. So we're 2681. This is 2876. So it is right down the street, same side of the street. Now it does have this little bump out, which can be a factor. So we're going to just check out the square footage of this one. It's on the market for 3 days. Listed for 255, sold for 255. It's got the extra garage space. So that's 1,800 square feet. It's 500 square feet bigger than ours. That's something to take into account. I don't typically do, price per square foot when you're looking at older homes because there's so many variables. But yeah, 1,800 square feet. That's a lot. That's a lot bigger. It's probably that bump out is the main difference. So we're just going to keep that in mind. One thing I'll also do too on this, so it's 2876 McKinley. I'm also going to go back and I'm going to look for wholesale purposes because I'm going to wholesale this. I'm going to see, was it wholesale? What did the investor that did that rehab pay for that house? So you can see right here, it sold for 255 as we thought. And I'm going to go to the value history on it. So look at this one. So this Thorium Properties private funding company, they bought it for $160 in 2023, and then they flipped it for $255. So I don't know what it looked like. Somebody also bought this back in for $139. So they paid $160 for this house. I don't know what working needs. That seems like a lot to me, but that's buy for $160, sell for $255. Again, the property I'm looking at, we're looking in the $70,000 range. But if it's worth $255, this is kind of interesting. So let's see if we can find some pictures on it. So I'm going to look here and see if maybe it was on the market before. So again, because I'm an agent, I can kind of look at the property history. I can see the previous times that it's been listed in the past. And you can see it listed back in 2016. So they put it on the market in July as a new listing. So there's no pictures of it from when they bought it earlier this year. So you don't really know what it looked like. The closest we have are these pictures from 2016. And we'll see if there's even photos in here of it. Sometimes there's just the exterior photo, nothing else. Yeah, that's all we've got. So so it was relatively clean. We can assume this is kind of a basic rehab, but they paid $160 for it. All right, so it sold for $255. So that's kind of the top of the market is $255. And that gives us a pretty good indication of what it's worth. Let's go back and look at the rest of the comps. So I'm going to save this as my first comp here at 255. Morning Ridge, bigger house. Acosta, similar street, 244. It's a 3-bed. Started at 229, got bid up to 245. 3-bed, 2.5 bath. Let's pay attention to this as well. This also was 1.5 baths. This is a bigger home here on Ravogli, LaFuel, 226. Here's another little cape right on Montana, which is a busy street. It's a 4-bed. And you've got this one on Minion. That's, again, a 4-bed. So you can see they go down. Here's another one on McKinley for 188. It's important. So if I'm going to sell this to an investor and they pull up constantly say, well, here's one on McKinley that's sold for 188. How can you tell me this house is worth 250? So the McKinley one that sold for 188. Why did this one sell for 188, but the other sold for 255? Well, let's take a look at this. Let's look at the pictures. So again, same street, not really updated. It's cleaned up, just as kind of a basic rehab. Looks like they redid the floors. They painted it. They left all that old tile in the kitchen. They put some tile down on the floor, or maybe like a weird laminate. They left the cabinets and they did a basic countertop. It's brick, 2737 McKinley. Backyard's kind of sloped. It's not bad. What else on the outside we can look at? So it's got a garage. It's kind of a little garage. Let's see that. So we're at 188. Square footage, 1,400 square feet. Now, so this looks like business hours of response time. This looks like it's corporate owned. So maybe let's take a look at this on the auditor and kind of see what the situation is with this one. So 2737 McKinley. 2737. Again, from a wholesale standpoint, so this is Vinebrook. So this is a Vinebrook property. Vinebrook, which is one of the big hedge funds. They paid $113 for this back then. They looks like they did a basic rehab and just threw it up on the market for $188. So they made some money on that for sure. But again, Vinebrook is not trying to sell these things for the top of the dollar, top of the market. So you have to consider, who sold it. You've got to create that narrative. It's got to be accurate. So Vinebrook just sold it. They dumped it. It's listed for, we can look at the history on it. Listed for 190, sold for 188. So they just kind of put it up there and sold it quickly. And that was in June. Not really rehabbed. Let's keep going. So Pancoast 192, 4-bed, 3-bed here, 188. Another one on McKinley for 178. Let's look at that one. It's more of a ranch style. Kind of an as is, we'll say. It's clean, not rehabbed. All right, so what are we learning from this? So this was, new countertops, old cabinets. So what are we learning from this? We're learning that a rehabbed house can't really be comped with kind of an as is. So the rehabs in that one, they got as much as 255. So if I'm trying to wholesale this to an investor and I say, hey, look, it's 255. I don't think you can get 255 personally because another house is 500 square feet bigger. And mainly because it's 500 square feet bigger. When you're talking about 1,300 square foot house, you want to look for something that's within 10% square footage. So ours is 1,300. I consider anything between, 1,400 and below comparable. When you get up into 1,800, 500 square feet, it's got additional garage space. You got some extra bonuses that people are paying for. So, but the as-is ones, it's not worth 180. So we can say, okay, the as-is ones. So if you were to just come in here, just do a basic rehab, basic electric, basic plumbing, basic fixtures, your as-is sales are about 180. So in this case, we're somewhere between 180 and 250. And I think you got to just kind of meet in the middle and kind of make a good educated estimate of what it would be. And let's make sure there's nothing else that's kind of proving us wrong here. So you got Schaefer, Grassley, St. Catherine, which is kind of the same pocket at 150. Let's see if this is like an as-is sale. Yeah, that one's pretty outdated. It looks awesome. Nice, cool bar. So no updates whatsoever, and you're at about 150. A little bit of updates, refinished hardwoods, fresh coat of paint. You're in the 180s, fully rehabbed. You're in your 250s. So that's the problem with this, is determining what level of rehab are you going to do will drastically impact the amount of value that you're going to get. So you can't just say, oh, it's worth this and it needs this. There's a million different ways to skin a cat. If it's worth 250, then you've got to do a 250. You've got to do a downtown rehab. You got to do all out $80,000 rehab to get the 250, or the 240 is probably where I think it would be. In this case, what I would do, I would list it for, I was going to do a nice rehab on it. I would list it for $249.9 and see what happens from there. You can always take less, right? But you make sure you do a really nice job. It's so fully gutted out. So the option of just doing kind of an as-is rehab and a basic paint and carpet, lipstick job, it ain't going to cut it on this house. You got to do it really nice. You might as well finish the basement. You might as well put some money into it. So the question is, what do we need to pay for the house based on what the rehab that we're going to do to try to get that value? So let's do some basic calculations here. If you've been investing for real estate for a long time, then you probably used to do the formulas. I take the ARV and multiply it times 0.7 or 0.75. I would caution against doing that. I think that you'll find that you're going to pigeonhole yourself into some deals, and you're going to miss out on a lot of properties. So I'm just going to do some basic calculations here. I'm going to take the house. I'm going to say, okay, after repair value, let's say if it's worth let's say I'm not going to get 250 for it. I might, but let's just say 240 to be safe. 240, let's say 245. $245,000. And this always messes with me. I like to have my formats the right way. All right, $245,000 ARV. Now you're going to pay real estate commissions on the back end. So you're going to pay commissions. And that's going to be, call it 6%. Times 0.06. So then I'm at 14,700. Then I'm also at closing costs, seller paid closing costs. Let's say they asked for $3,000. Okay. So then my net, when I sell this house, is going to be this, equals F1 minus F2 minus F3. Okay, so my net is $227,000. That's what I'm going to get back at closing. So the question is, what do I want to spend? So if I'm going to go all out and I'm going to finish the basement, I'm going to do everything to try to get that $245,000, I'm probably going to have to put a little extra into it. Let's say I just end up spending another, call it $8,000 on the basement. So now I'm about, now I'm at 88. Let's just call it 90. So now we're looking at $90,000 in rehab. So repair cost, and I'm going to say equal this. Now I'm going to subtract net after repair, or I'm going to say gross. And I'm going to take this number right here, and I'm going to subtract my rehab cost. Boom. So then my gross after repair is $137,300. Now the question is, what do I want to make? What do I want to make? Now in this case, I'm a wholesaler. I'm going to wholesale this. The bare minimum that I'm going to make on a wholesale deal is $15,000. Preferably, I'm going to make $20,000. So, but I also want to make sure I leave plenty of meat on the bone for my customers. And in this case, because it's a bigger rehab, it's going to take a lot longer. I know that my customers are going to be looking for a little bit of a healthy margin. They're not just going to be looking to make $20,000 or $30,000. For a bigger project like this, where they're pulling permits, running new HVAC, running new electric, running new plumbing, running into potential issues and permitting stuff, you're looking at a longer rehab. So they're not going to want to make $30,000. I know my investors are probably going to want to make at least $45,000. So their desired net is going to be $45,000. So their desired net is going to be $45,000. Okay. So then I'm going to subtract their desired net from the gross after repair minus the 45. This tells me what I can sell this for to an investor. So if an investor is comfortable and they want to make $45,000, then I need to sell to them for $92,300. So by the time they close with me, they're going to be into it for about $95,000. So I need to be able to show them a clear path where they can make between $40,000 to $50,000 if they spend, $70,000 to $90,000 on the rehab. So I keep it in ranges. So you could make $45,000. If you keep your rehab down and you get a little bit more, you could make $50,000. So that's just kind of the basic numbers that I've got built into here. This tells me that I would sell it for $92,300. My sale price to an investor. Now, because I need to make my gross margin on it, my wholesale fee, I'm going to put my desired wholesale margin in there. And then I'm going to put in my buy price. And it's going to be $92,000 minus my wholesale fee, which is $15,000. So I need to buy it at $77,300. Now, it comes back to what can I sell? Who do I have? Looking for houses right now. Am I confident in my numbers? I know for sure that I tried to sell a house last year in that same market, for $70,000. I had a really hard time doing it, but the comps weren't there. In that case, the comps were really showing maybe 130, 140. The comps are there. There's comps ranging, 180 all the way up to $250,000. So I could also make the case where you could do a basic rehab, and sell it for less. But in this case, my narrative and my story that I'm using to sell this thing, which I believe in, is that you can get $245,000 for the house. You could spend $90,000 on the rehab, but you could net out between $40,000 to $50,000 after carrying costs, after commissions, after closing costs. So that puts my buy price at $77,000. Now, here's a unique thing. If this is something that you're looking at on your own and you don't have to factor in a wholesale fee, well, you could pay a lot more. So you could go all the way up to $90,000. So you can see now what I told you my acquisition associate told me. He said that the sellers are getting offers between $70,000 to $90,000. Does it make sense that their calculations are very similar to mine? So now I just have to determine how aggressive do I want to be. If I'm going to make $15,000 on this deal, do I tell them, hey, look, I can go up to 75, I can go to 77, I can go to 80. I'm pretty confident I can sell this thing at 95, but I want to try to get it for less. I want to try to get it for $75,000. So I'm just going to call my acquisition associate. I'm going to say, hey, look, we could go up to, $77,000 or even maybe $80,000 and still make it work. But if we could get it closer to 70 or 75, that'd be perfect. So you tell them, hey, we'll lock it up today. We're going to give you $3,000 earnest money. We'll close in 2 weeks or we'll close next week. As is, no inspections, no contingencies, done deal. We're going to submit that offer. So I hope this is helpful. I hope it kind of shows you my process. And if I do this for 5 different houses, it's going to look 5 different ways, but this is pretty consistent to what I do. I look at the values that the property is worth when it's fixed up, look at how much work that it needs, so on just kind of a rough basis. I find out what I can sell it for and what margin my customer is going to want to make on that deal. All right, that's how it works. Hopefully you got a lot of value out of this, and I will keep you posted to see how this thing goes, to see if we're able to sell it and see if we're able to buy it. Thanks a lot.